What is up, all of my beautiful freaking people? Welcome back to another episode of FML Talk. Today is a fun girl talk episode with Erin Ziering. We are going to talk love, relationships, divorce, co-parenting, all of the above. So sit back, grab a cocktail, and welcome to FML Talk.
Oh my God. Wait, how old was the other girl?
19. Can you believe that shit?
Hey, this is Gabrielle Stone.
Good book?
He did what? 48 hours?
What a dick.
Yeah, but have you seen all the photos on her Instagram?
And this is FML Talk.
Oh, no, she didn't.
Y'all know I love a good self-love cocktail and occasionally an actual cocktail. I have always notoriously hated the taste of alcohol and needed it disguised in a good mixology cocktail until I discovered Neft. Because Neft is a premium vodka in its purest form with non-GMO rye, it has a light taste full of character. Not only is Neft one of the best tasting vodkas I've ever had, it also comes in the cutest packaging I have ever seen. Their unbreakable barrel keeps it chilled for up to 6 hours, making it the perfect drink to take just about anywhere. Join me in adding a little actual cocktail into your self-love cocktail with Neft vodka. Cheers! Okay, you guys. Erin Ziering was married to someone that you probably know from your TV screens for about a decade. It was a very long relationship, and we're going to get into how they split and what's gone down after as far as them co-parenting and raising their two beautiful little girls. She was married to Ian Ziering from 90210, the Sharknado films, and was thrust into a Hollywood lifestyle when she was just 24 when they met. And it's actually really inspiring to hear how their co-parenting journey has gone and how she has found life after divorce. So without further ado, let's get into it. Here is Erin. Erin Ziering, welcome to FML Talk.
I am so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. Who's sitting on your lap right now?
This is Comet. This is my my boyfriend. This is the relationship that can't leave me.
This is the love of my life. What a fucking cutie. I'm such a dog mom that my heart. Oh,
I love him.
He's so good.
He's working with me today, so
I love it. Welcome to FML Talk. Okay. Your recent journey in your love life relationship, I feel like I relate to because at times it was a shit show for you. So kind of like take us back to that relationship, how it started, the marriage, all of it.
So I was, I met my husband. I was 24, very young.
Yeah.
I was in nowhere looking for a relationship or to be with somebody. And I met him. He asked me out. I said no. And
why did you say no?
I was going to hang out with my other dog that next day.
Priorities.
I know. I tried to act like I had cool stuff going on. But I just wanted to hang out with my dog. And he insisted. We went out the next day. He proposed 3 months later.
Wow.
He was 20 years older than me. We got married 5 months after he proposed. So within 8 months, and I was pregnant on the honeymoon.
Holy shit, dude.
Right?
You were like shotgun, signed, sealed, delivered.
All of it. And I didn't even think twice, didn't question any of it. I just went with the flow. 24.
And what were you doing in your life, like as Erin in that time, like career-wise?
Yeah,
like,
I was a traveling nurse.
Okay, cool.
I was just bouncing around.
So what was it?
I had no like consistent anything.
Right.
No commitments.
And he was in a very different career.
Yeah, very different. He was an actor. He'd been an actor his entire life. He'd been living in Hollywood since he was 26 years old, and he was 46 at the time.
Yeah. And what was it like kind of going into that lifestyle change?
I mean, it was fun. I felt like I was always one of those girls that randomly would end up in places or situations that were always nice and great. And, people would invite you to places and things, especially as a traveling nurse. I'd be in Miami on a yacht, or, I'd be in New York on a rooftop someplace. So I always was in great, nice situations. So it wasn't this like culture shock of, Hollywood wasn't new. I'd been bouncing around, in Hollywood for those, couple months at that point already when I was there.
Yeah.
And when I met him, it was just fun. I was like, let's go with this and see what happens. So we were married for 9 years and 8 months.
That's a long time.
Yeah. When he said, I want to get a divorce, I was like, whoa, okay.
And did you see that coming, or was it just out of nowhere?
You know, it was all, I never thought that it would actually happen. I felt like we were a pretty good couple in the sense of like compared to most married couples. It wasn't horrible, it wasn't bad, there wasn't any cheating really happening, and it was just, you know, we had a great family life, and there was some stuff that we could have worked on as a couple, but I always thought there was always time to work on that.
Yeah.
Compared to just, let's get out of it.
Right. And how many kids did you have at that point?
We had 2.
Okay, so you have 2 kids. You're just like living happy married life. How did that conversation go?
We've been fighting and, you know, on and off, but as couples do. And he was just like, I want a divorce. And then one point I said, okay. Grabbed my stuff and just walked out.
Oh, really?
There was no hesitation at that point. I was like, we'd never really said it that's, you know, firmly that he didn't want me. And I think I'm just a reactive person. Like, you don't want me, I'm gone. It doesn't take more than 2 seconds for me to be like, all right, good. Okay,
Right.
Go find somebody else. Good luck.
Yeah. I think for me, when my divorce happened, I mean, obviously it was shocking and, you know, there was cheating involved. But for me, I knew that I wasn't in love with him. Like I had love for him.
Yeah.
But I was by no means in love. So when the idea of divorce came up, it was like, I feel like this is kind of my way out to go restart my life. Did you feel similar?
Yeah, I think I realized that what I've found and have had since then was not that type of relationship. You know, my husband and I had a great like family relationship, but the passion, the wanting to make things work, not willing to walk away, that stuff was not there. It didn't exist in that type of relationship. That kind of love didn't exist. There was a different kind of love that I felt for him.
Yeah.
And will always feel for him. But the different type of love, I think the kind that he probably needed, to be fair to him, just wasn't there.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And when you guys split, was there things that came up that you had to work through with co-parenting, or was it just easy falling into that?
I mean, at first it's like I was full-time mom. I hadn't, you know, I worked before, kind of a little bit in the beginning, but then, you know, with him traveling and filming so much, I was at home all the time.
Yeah.
And so I became just so attached to those 2 little girls. The idea of splitting them 50-50 or something happening and me not being there was insanely heartbreaking. And it was really hard to handle for the first few months. And then I got through it. Like, it was just, that was the only really hard part of the co-parenting, was letting go and letting him take, you know, the percentage. I mean, no matter what, he would get 50-50. It's California. You can't even fight for it. You can't be like, oh, I had him all the time. It's not fair. It's not right. It's just what it is. And it's better off. And I'm so glad that he does. And he's with them half the time. But that was the only hard part. Other than that, we've been really great. We're just like, hey, I'm going on a trip. Can you watch the kids for a weekend? Sure. Like, I'll be gone for this amount of time. There's always little hiccups over little things. But we never say like, no, you can't do this or you can't do that or you can't have them on a holiday that you want. We always agree.
Right. That's really great.
Yeah.
I feel like my boyfriend, his ex-wife and daughter's mother, the 3 of us have a similar dynamic where it's like, okay, you know, if you guys want to go here, we'll make it work, or let's try and like figure this out. So I feel like it's really rare, and we're really lucky to be able to say that, because everybody that writes into this show is like, I'm in fucking co-parenting hell with a narcissist. Like, what do I do? And I'm like, I can't give you any advice. I don't know. Thank God.
Yeah, it's like, let it go. Sometimes you just gotta be like, let it go. If you, like, why fight? It's just gonna keep, you know, things just make it worse. It makes it worse for the kids. It makes it worse
so
for
much
you.
worse.
It makes it worse if you want something. It's like the karma of like, you know what? If I give him this whenever I really want something and it's important to me, you know, maybe he'll give it back. Yeah. And he always does. It always comes back in return. I'm like, remember that one time?
Yeah.
You know.
So when you got hit with the news about the divorce, I know you just picked up and like left, but was there any sadness and like heartbreak around that, or did you kind of think it was happening for a reason?
I feel like it was a disappointment of like losing almost.
Oh, like
I think
I didn't like succeed in doing
I didn't
this?
succeed in something. Like, I'm really big into making sure like I do well, and you know, all of those kind of things. It was almost like you lost the game. Like,
right, like you felt like a failure.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was the hardest part. It was like I really thought I tried and put everything I could into, you know, doing that, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it didn't. I feel like we'll both find like happiness. We both have found things that have made us happier throughout it, and our kids are doing great. Luckily, God, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. I don't know how sometimes I look at them like, well, I don't know what we did right, but we did something.
Did you guys ever have conversations about like, okay, when one of us starts dating someone, are we going to check with the other person before they're around the kids? Like, did you guys set any rules in place around, bringing other people into their world?
We really didn't. I think we kind of have now. COVID hit when we got separated. There was like no option to bring anybody around. We couldn't even have like nannies in the house for the longest time. So we couldn't really bring anyone in. And the person that I ended up seeing for the past couple of years, he was a friend. So he started off as a friend that was just around because there's no rules in not having opposite sex friends around. So when he turned into something more, it just kind of progressed naturally into he was around. Yeah. He had been around already. He was around all my friends with the same friends. And, that just kind of, he was a part of the family already from that point. He ended up meeting my ex and everything. And, we've gone through ups and downs to get him and I together too. And it's just, but that's something I actually have tried to stick through and work through compared to my marriage where I was like, bye.
Right.
Yeah, it's such a weird dynamic.
And are you still in that relationship now?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And the looks on our faces.
I know. I was like treading lightly. And what has that relationship brought into your life that you felt your marriage was lacking?
I think the idea to find ways to communicate and work through things and forgive each other for, hurting each other. Yeah. Is always go, okay, what did we do and how are we not going to let that happen again? Yeah. And I would have never forgiven or been okay with something before. And this time I look at everything as, if you get through this now, your life will be better later on and learning how to like not hurt each other. Yeah. Yeah. Especially early on.
What do you think it was in your marriage? Because that was such a long relationship. Yeah. It was it was a decade. Yeah. What do you think it was in that relationship that you guys couldn't communicate and forgive and do that?
It just wasn't there. I think there's like that spark. There's a thing. I don't think you can create it. You can't just make it happen if it doesn't exist. You can't build on it. You can be in love. You can have a kind of love, but you can't have that kind of love that you really want it that bad.
Right. I mean, did you guys ever go to therapy?
Oh, we did. I mean, I even did like that online therapy thing, which was crazy. I forget what her name is, but she you have to build up the man at all costs. I was like, what am I listening to?
Wait, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I'm going to send you this link. Oh my gosh. If somebody has to send this, I'll send it in.
Please.
Yeah, it was the most anti-feminine
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Everything was just about everything is a woman's fault. And if a man acts out, it's because you did something wrong and how to learn from it. And I had to do 40 hours of this before we got fully committed to being divorced. He wanted me to make sure I tried it. So
it was his idea to do that?
Yeah, it was his idea before.
Well, of course it's coming from a fucking man. I'm sorry, I can't. What? Yes. And is the program done by a female?
Yes, it
That's
is.
That's fucking blasphemy.
Yeah, it reminds you of one of those southern church place things.
Oh my God, yeah, whoever that is, someone please send me her fucking info so I can either call and yell at her, bring her on the show and grill her, because that's some bullshit.
It's great. And we also did marriage counseling. We did multiple different therapists, and just nothing worked.
Why do you think? Was it
I think
two
I was
people
just
that
done.
just weren't ready to come together?
Yeah, I think I was just done. I was just I put almost 10 years into this. I grew up. I changed. I wasn't the 24-year-old anymore, and I wanted to have different things in life that wasn't happening at the time.
Yeah, that's a big growing period too when you're in your early 20s. You change a fucking lot. Yeah. I am not who I was in my 20s.
And his statement was always you aren't who I married. I'm like, no,
and nor should I be.
No, I was not who I was. I'm definitely not who you married. Yeah, I feel like I'm a better version of myself when I was 24.
Right. And what was his reasoning for you wanting to do that 40-hour shit show therapy?
He just heard it was great and it would help. Somebody told him.
From a bunch of men.
Probably. Listen, she'll give you a lot of blowjobs if you listen to this, because that's the problem.
Blowjobs. The answer is always blowjobs and sandwiches in the kitchen. Come on.
And make him a sandwich because he had a hard day.
Oh my God, I cannot. Do you feel like there was anything in the age difference that played a role or a factor in the relationship?
Allison Armstrong. That's the name.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
I was like, what about it?
It was she.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to be looking
look
this up.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Love that. Do you feel that there was anything in the age difference that played a factor, positive or negative, in the relationship?
I don't think so. I would never look at a couple and judge them based on age and say it's not going to work out or be better or whatever. I mean, we made it 10 years. That's a decent amount of time.
That's a long time, especially in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's a long time.
That's a lifetime in Hollywood marriages.
We didn't have any chaotic parts of our marriage. You know, no big traumas happened to us.
Yeah.
You know, we just kind of went through happily going to Disneyland and cruises and, you know, living our best life, traveling the world as a family.
Yeah.
No complaints. Like the 20 years, you know, didn't really change anything. I don't think I've dated guys younger than me that treat me the same as a guy, you know,
right.
would treat you. If they're going to be, you know, look down on you and whatever, that's just who they are. It doesn't matter their age. If a man's going to act like,
I think it's dependent on the person. My boyfriend now is 15 years older than me, and like our energies match so well. Sometimes he, I think, is younger than me in some ways, not in like an immaturity way, in like his vibrancy and his energy that he emits and his aura. But the only thing that fucks with me in my head with the age difference is, and this is probably from like my childhood trauma of losing my dad and stuff, is I feel like I'm gonna lose him and then be alone because he's older. Yeah. Like that's the only reason why I'm like, fuck, I wish he was 10 years younger. Yeah.
can I get you another dog?
Yeah.
I don't know how to replace him.
You're like,
I'm already worried. No, I'm stressed out for you.
You're like, can we add more dogs to the mix? I know you have 3, but maybe we go to 5.
Maybe a cat.
I can't. What
can we collect besides men for our trauma?
Like, what did you do to replace Tay? I got dogs. Dogs were the answer.
I got cats after my divorce.
Really?
Yeah, I wanted something.
How many cats do you have now?
I have 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I felt like the house was too quiet.
Yeah, especially when the kids were gone with dad.
And so I already had a couple dogs and they weren't enough.
How can I supplement my feelings?
Right.
You're like, this is totally healthy.
Yeah,
it's
plants
fine.
just die on me. Animals I can keep alive somehow. So
I'm the same way.
Men can't keep around animals. They have no choice.
Oh my God, I love it. What was your upbringing like your childhood?
My parents are happily married. They've been married for 30 some years, I want to say.
Yeah.
No problems. Like grew up on a Christmas tree farm, you know.
Oh, that's fun.
Church Sundays. Parents, you know, they're on their retired life right now together.
Yeah.
And they look at me and they're like, what are you doing? What are you
out in LA?
What are you doing? Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm doing great, but you know, I think a lot of people base what you're doing and how you're doing on how your relationship status is.
Right. Yeah. Why is that? That's such a thing. Like, we had a good friend of mine, Morgan Willett, on the podcast last season talking about her like pretty public breakup. And then I brought her back this season and she was like, you know, everybody's always asking me, are you in a relationship? Have you met someone yet? And there's so much like weighing on that from society looking in at women. I don't feel like it's on men ever. Nobody's ever like, when are you going to meet that girl and knock her up and bring some babies into the world? Nobody's fucking asking them that. They can be 50 and in their bachelor stage and everybody's like, yeah, he's cool, he's fine. But it's such a thing for women. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just old school, and we still have not broken away from the stigma. But also at the same time, we still have to be able to do everything. You have to have your practice. You have to have your, you know, full career. You have to have your office together. You have to have your life together. You also have to be able to keep a man and also somehow have some kind of family. Right. And have like 15 animals too. Right. And keep your plants alive.
And still be thriving and drinking enough water and going to the gym. It's like, fuck you guys, I'm tired.
And you have to be able to go out all the time, but not too much, because then you're judged for that too.
Right. It's like
and travel the world.
Yeah.
Because if you don't travel the world, you're not cultured.
Right.
So
it's like well-rounded, guys. That's all you need to be. That's all you need to be. I have felt that approaching I'm 33 now. I'll be 34 in November. And the last time, sorry, TMI everybody, the last time I went to my gyno, she was like, okay, I love her. She's amazing. But she was like, okay, Gabrielle, you're 33 and I'm sorry to bring this up to you, but I just need you to know that now's the time you should freeze your eggs. And I looked at her and I was like, my mom had me when she was 40.
Yeah.
In the 80s, which was like unheard of, after every doctor was like, you're never gonna fucking get pregnant, like it's just not gonna happen, it's not in the cards for you. And she was like, fuck you world, watch me. And 6 years later, I was here. So I don't have like, and I've never felt that time pressure clock on me that so many women talk about, like why, you should have women or you should have children by the time you're in your 30s. And I think that's such a fucking toxic stigma that exists in our world. When did you guys first have kids?
I mean, I was 25.
Okay, and then your second one
was 2 years later, exactly.
Okay.
So
you never got old enough to feel that pressure.
Never. And now I feel like there's this up and down of like dating and knowing like the person you're with wants to have kids. But that's really like, I guess at this point up to him, how long.
So the relationship that you're in now?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like the discussion either needs to be there or it's not. And I already have kids. Like
right.
I'm happy and I would love to have more children. And I don't really feel like, I guess I don't feel that clock either. I don't feel like, oh no, should I do this or should I do that? I really haven't ever with him. And no one's really ever brought it up, I guess, because I already have them and they just assume that
you're like two and done and it's like more would just be a bonus at this point.
Yeah, just a bonus.
Right.
Yeah, that or some more cats. So I don't know.
Babies or cats, they're interchangeable.
I don't know. They're all the same, right?
So did you just kind of like stroll through life without any massive trauma happening? Are you a unicorn?
I think I am a unicorn.
Oh my God, really?
I
was expecting you to be like, no, Gabrielle,
my parents
there was
are happily
this time.
married. I came out to LA. It all worked out.
Nobody died on you.
No, I haven't like.
Wow,
no,
girl.
I lost my dog that I had for 14 years, like in December.
That's something.
But like, that's my first trauma.
Wow.
Not like tragically, just like he died in my arms and by the Christmas tree, super happy, smiling, looking at me like this was like
you're like even my trauma was still nicely lit by a Christmas tree. I'm dead. No, but like,
and like
your
going through the divorce was even. It could have been a lot. I mean, I am not Amber Heard right now. Thank God.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going through anything like traumatic, like whatever that whole shit show is.
Yeah.
I mean, ours is pretty like, all right, cool. Did you turn in your paperwork? Getting there.
Right.
And I'm going to Vegas this weekend, so I'll do it when I get back. Babe.
Right.
And like,
I feel like when I went through my divorce, it was traumatic in the sense of like, I found out about the cheating and the betrayal and all of that. But as far as like divorces could go, because I wasn't heartbroken, I felt like it was on the easier scale. But as the years have gone on, I've had stuff come up where I'm like, oh, that links back to the divorce, or that links back to my shitty marriage, or that links back to, so there was stuff that like I can now recognize was definitely left on me from my ex-husband. Do you feel any of that? Like, are you in your new relationship like, oh, this is a thing that was caused from my last relationship?
I feel like not in this one. I feel like whenever him and I aren't together and I go out or I meet somebody else and I'm like, it's that feeling of like it not being it. The feeling of knowing that like I would never make this mistake and try to make something work that's just because it feels nice. Or, where we get along great and we're a lot of fun, but there's nothing there. I feel like you can easily jump into the relationship because you want to have one so bad with somebody.
Right.
Because it just works, not because it is what you need.
Yeah.
So that's like the only thing I've really gotten out of my ex. And also, I think the other one is just like, if you don't want me, I'm good to be gone. Like I don't need to stick around. And I never thought that was me. I used to think so many years of my marriage that like I had to like do all this stuff and like would always try to make like a guy, happy and whatever. And now I don't think there would be ever a situation where I'm like,
right.
No, you don't want me here.
Yeah.
I don't need to be here.
Yeah.
And I can go. I can take care of myself. I'm good.
Yeah.
So and I say all the time I get into a fight with the guy, I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
I think there's a lot of validity in the fact where so many times people in relationships will be like, okay, this is comfortable, so it must be good enough.
Or a girl feels too scared to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Because she feels codependent upon the relationship.
Yeah. And whether that's like financial or emotional codependency, or I don't want to leave because, oh my God, dating in LA sounds like a fucking horrific experience. Like I understand, but it's never worth staying in something just because it's comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where you're like giving up so much goodness that you could go find out in the world.
Or just put into yourself.
Yeah.
And then put that energy into what you want to do and create and, you know, who you want to be.
Yeah.
I sit at dinners so many times, like every night listening to girls just talk about like just being in something because it's comfortable. And I feel like I'm just listening to myself for years do that, and how much happier I am, even though I didn't imagine being happier, you know, and I would love it to magically just spark and, you know, work with my ex and everything just, you know, be unicorn and rainbows there. But at the same time, it still is. It is the way it is. And we have our amazing kids. Can't complain.
Yeah.
At all. Yeah. I want to.
Even when I want to.
Even though I want to, I can't. I'll find something else though to complain about. Huh? He's like looking at me. He's like, no, you have so many issues. He just gave me a hug. He's like, we won't tell them.
Did you, before you got into the relationship you're in now, did you date at all in between that and your marriage?
I did. I mean, I don't know if you call it dating, but...
Oh, what would you call it?
I don't know. I don't know. What do you call it in LA?
Were you like on the apps and stuff?
No, never. I've never been on an app.
Yeah, you know.
Those like...
Me neither, and thank God we're the lucky ones.
Yeah, I feel
I've heard horror stories.
I thought about it for like a minute, and then I was like, no, I just want my reputation. I just want to go down with never having done it, I think.
You're like, I will not
There was like
succumb
one
to it.
drunk night that my girlfriends were like, let's do it. They all pushed like Raya on me. I was like, you know what? There was a moment, and I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah. Is your new boyfriend in the industry?
No, not at all.
Oh, so that's a nice change of pace.
Yeah, finally.
You're like, yeah, completely different.
No, they're not.
The first.
The guys are all the same. Doesn't matter what they do. Doesn't matter what they do.
What do you think going through a long-term marriage and then getting a divorce for women that have been in something that's comfortable, once they get out, what's a piece of advice that you would give them?
Just don't do it again.
just stop making the same fucking mistake.
I'm so happy now with who I found, and I'm like, that's where I'm like, working through things, learning how to grow from it, communicate and everything. When you're comfortable, you don't learn or try. Even if things go wrong, you just go back to trying to be comfortable. Yeah. You don't like dig into what's hard and try to figure it out and, you know, really sink into what hurts. You don't do that when you're comfortable, and you just kind of just ignore it or push it to the side, or, you know, don't dive into your emotions like I feel like I do in this relationship to make sure, like, you know, if we have a chance, it has to be the best chance.
Right. Have your kids ever come to you with like questions about the divorce and the split?
They do all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they do all the time.
Like what?
I mean, they always come up. They're happy. I think they're like not, they don't want us to be, they're not like the kids that are like, oh, we want you guys to be back together, or we're going to plan a secret dinner.
Right.
Because they're
Parent trap you.
Yeah, no, they're not at all. They're always like, when we go out for dinner, they're like, you guys aren't getting back together, right? We're like, no. And we never had anything. I think they're just, we both have created happy homes for them and happy relationships. They did ask me, you know, when I've gone back and forth with the guy that I've dated, they've asked me like why I chose to go back to that relationship and work on that when I wasn't going back to their dad.
Oh,
and that was like just out of just curiosity, like why would you choose, you know, to keep going back whenever we thought you guys weren't back together. And that was like the only time they really asked like a hard question. I was like, wow. Like they're more invested than my friends are. My friends didn't even ask me that. I'm like, girls, like where's like the deep conversation?
You're like, why are you letting me like be in this cycle without questioning me?
Yeah, no one's questioning. Like,
how did you answer that question to them?
It was, I said he was something I wanted to work on, and he's something I really wanted to work on, and that was it. And they were just like, oh, okay. I just want to know, like, some people are, you know, something you really want to like try hard for.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that their dad wasn't. It just wasn't. Neither of us were ever going to be and make each other that happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that so many people in relationships and marriages stay because they're like, oh, but the kids.
Yeah.
And I've said it before, and look, this is not speaking from experience because I am obviously not a mother, but I think so many times when you're in a toxic relationship or a marriage that's making you unfulfilled or unhappy, it doesn't matter if you're technically in the same home and you guys are sleeping in the same bed. If you're not happy, your kids aren't getting like the fullest version of you.
Yeah.
Like they would so much rather you be separate and happy as individuals as opposed to being unhappy in a marriage together.
And my kids didn't see me whenever I was married, like building my own, career. They didn't see me working as a nurse, putting together my home. He was pretty much in charge of everything in my life at that point. Like when I had nannies, when I went out with my friends, what I was choosing to do, what I was choosing to wear, shop, everything. It was kind of like, it was on him when I was there because he controlled everything. He was the one making the money. And after I got divorced, I was, on my own, picking the home I wanted to live in, decorating the home,
right.
which is, I went all crazy girl. I was like, I'm just gonna do everything pink. Just everything. No man can tell me what to do right now.
It's interesting because, hearing you say he controlled, what I wore and like when I went out and
not
all
in a
of
bad
this.
way. Like
But
not
how?
like
Explain
just
that to me.
because, he'd go shopping all the time. He'd bring me home clothes and it was like what he liked and I'd want to wear what he liked.
Right.
Instead of wearing what I liked. You wanted to wear what when you're in that kind of relationship, you want them to like look at you and like you instead of being like, he's going to like me because I feel really good in what I picked out.
Right.
Versus I want to wear something because he likes it.
Right.
Or it's his style.
Do you feel that was healthy?
No.
Okay, good.
I
was like, I don't want to be like, do you know that was fucking toxic?
I know. Yeah, I know now. And I don't think that, it wasn't awful or bad and he wasn't doing it to try to be. Right. Because I gave that. Too.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
I allowed it.
Yeah, I allowed it, and I allowed it the entire time. So it wasn't something. We talked about that in therapy too, and it was like, and the therapist was like, you allowed it. And I was like mad about it for a minute. I was like, and you did this, and the therapist was like, no, you also did it because you wanted to make him happy.
Right, you were playing a part.
Yeah, and you allowed him to continue, and it wasn't something. And also, it was just the way our relationship was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, we weren't trying to hurt each other through it or anything like that. It just didn't allow me to grow to be the best version of myself.
Right.
Because I wasn't really myself.
Yeah. Now that you've done therapy and you're in a relationship where you feel like you can communicate and have forgiveness, what do you think individually was like the turning point of like, okay, this is something I need to work on in order to have a relationship that way? Because I think it happens when we choose and grow and learn those techniques. We're not just like, oh, this is the right fit, so suddenly I'm gonna like forgive and like know how to communicate. Like I feel like there's something within you that you either learn or activate or choose to do.
I mean, it's such a hard question. I feel like that's what I'm constantly trying to answer and figure out is like every time there's like a fight or a miscommunication, it's like stopping, figuring out like what just went wrong.
Right.
And why we chose to hurt each other in whatever way we did, which is toxic, but the toxic part is like not growing from it. The toxic part is like recognizing, okay, it's like I can be a toxic person,
right? And
like acknowledging that, and the person you're with can too. Usually you choose a person that's very similar personality to you. Yeah, you're not going to choose like, the person that's the meek-minded person when you're a strong alpha person. You're like, I need somebody who matches the same energy as me. Yeah. And so when you do something, you're both doing something just as, crazy to each other. Correct. And at the same time going, like, why did we get there? What happened? And how do we not get there again? Yeah. And also, how do we find ways to like forgive each other and not also be the type of relationship that holds that months later. Oh my God, and throws it back into, and so I'm trying to grow from all of these things. Yeah. And I'm constantly mindful of like, all right, we're leaving this here. We're moving on. What happened and how's this not going to happen again? Yeah. Oh my God, dude. I've witnessed some certain relationships that are with people in my life where they just like can't let go and a fight will happen. It's like, well, 6 years ago when you on this date, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me? At 9:48. It's like, you can't even remember like your fucking schedule for the week. How do you log that in your brain? I mean, I have to say I'm guilty of it sometimes too. You're like, that's me. I will do it, and I know, and I'm trying to grow and learn from it. Like, and some people I never even acknowledged or cared that I was doing it. And this time I'm like, no, I want to stop, and I don't want to stop it for other people, but for this relationship I do. Yeah, it's being like self-aware and saying, okay, these are the facts. This is what's happening. How can I analyze and grow from this so it's not repeated in the future? Because that's the toxic cycle, is when you can like continually repeating and things. You repeat it and then you can repeatedly bring it up. Yes. Yeah, because you can't fix something once it's in the past. Right. My boyfriend and I we rarely fight. Like, I mean, maybe 2 to 3 times a year. Like, it's rare. But when we do, it's fucking bad because we are both such alphas that it's like,
in our normal relationship every day, we're so loving and kind and gentle and soft, and he's like the softest, biggest teddy bear. But when he fucking flips that switch to alpha, it's a whole different ball game. And then my alpha comes out, and then we're just like two fucking wolves butting heads. And it's so gnarly. And so we've really been working on, when we are triggered and we know we're getting into that situation, to like take space and like get away from each other for 20-30 minutes to let that like innate alpha urge cool the fuck down, so that we can come back together and like talk lovingly to each other. That has been such a game changer for us.
It's figuring out ways to get to that while you're there in that heated moment. Is like, that's where I think we're learning right now. And my ex was very big on like, don't walk away from me, don't walk away from me. And I've always been like, I need to step out. I just need to go. I'll come right back. I'll come right back because I have more to say. I'm not done yet. But
Well, I relate on both sides. I used to be the person that was like, no, I need to get this handled now. Like, I can't sit in the shit and know that something's wrong for the next 30 minutes. Like, I'll start panicking. Or if someone physically walks out of the room, my abandonment issues kick in, and I'm like, they're gonna leave, they're gonna die, and I'm gonna be alone for the rest of my life. Like 0 to 100. But you know, when you're with a partner that's gonna take care of your triggers like that, like every time that happens now with Tay and I, he'll be like, okay, I love you. I'm gonna like walk out of the room for a little bit so we can cool off, and I love you, and I'll come back and we'll reconvene. And it's the simplest thing. And then I'm able to be like, okay, all right, fine, let's go fucking take 10. And it's a game changer when you know how to fight fairly. And fight fairly and in a smart way, and not trying to like do things that are, you know, are going to hurt each other, and you know are going to push each other's buttons. Because we've all been in those fights where you're like, what's the lowest blow I could do right now? And you're like, your mom. Yeah, you know what? You want to talk about your fucking mom right now? And then it's just like, oh, we just spiraled so hard.
How did we get here? Like, where were we originally?
Yeah, I know. Like, what is this fight about? You're stupid like your father. This is not where we started, everybody. Like,
how do you know my dad? How are you talking about him?
But it's so, we've all been there when you're in that like toxic fight, and it's hard to like get that perspective and step back and get some awareness and be like, oh, that was my fault, I misstepped there, I have to own that. Because so many times, instead of doing that, we're like, okay, how can I get out of this? How can I put this on the other person and manipulate it so that this is no longer my fault, and they end up saying sorry? And that's fucking toxic.
I think there's fight fairly. I'm just gonna, that's it for me. I'm gonna go home and use that one.
Number one word, fight fairly.
The word of the weekend. Let's learn.
Yes.
Let's write them all down.
For the hiccups that have happened with you and your ex since the divorce, has there ever been one that you felt you guys started fighting unfairly?
I mean, they're really... The biggest one I think was him saying like I was in like the influencer space before, doing really well. We had like our own brand, was throwing parties all the time, was working with huge companies, and then he put out this article just to be a jerk that said I had to get a job. And he put it like on TMZ, and I was like devastated. That was like the only time, and I still like, there's still moments I just get drunk mad, and start like
you're ranting. Like, that's the moment where if we ever fight, I'll be like, that one time where you called TMZ
and said I had to get a job. Like, I had a job, like I was making legit money, but it's because I didn't have like what people call a real job. So immediately the next day I called up like every doctor I knew. I was like, I've been a nurse for like 8 years, but will somebody hire me? Had a job. That was February of 2000 and what was that, 2020? Was that the year of COVID? Yeah, that was February. March, COVID hit. I had just became a nurse again after 8 years.
Wow.
And I went right back into like being a nurse during COVID.
What do you think?
After I hadn't worked forever, so I was like, bye bitches, I'm a nurse during COVID. And no one rewrote the article. No one was like, girl got a job. And then I was real bitter about that some nights. I was like, wait, TMZ was never like, hey, girl went back to work as a nurse during COVID.
Because they don't care about the upswing and like the happy hero journeys. They just care about the gossip.
Yeah, just make her look bad. No, I was so mad about that though.
Why do you think he chose to do that?
I don't know. I don't think he even did. I think PR.
Right.
I think it's probably more of a PR move. I just don't think that was him either, because I thought that, you know, I think that was like the only moment. Then after that, I mean, I kind of met the guy and fell in love that I was seeing after that. And
Yeah.
it's been since then. So
Yeah. Is your ex with someone?
I think he is now. He's really quiet about who he sees. I'm just like loud. My
I
kids
love
know.
that.
My kids
You're
are
like, I think, I'm not sure.
My kids are like, what's going on? Are you guys together? Not together? I'm like, I don't know, girls. I don't know. Love him. They're like,
Let's sit down over a glass of grape juice and I'll talk to you about
I'll
it.
talk to you about it later. We're gonna have girls' night. They love our relationship. They're super happy. They love all of our friends. So like, it's not, they're always like, why doesn't he tell us who he's with or who he's dating? We don't know. So I think it's funny for them because they're kind of like in the opposite of like the old school idea of like what's going on, because they get more concerned because I think they worry about what we're doing and our happiness. They're like, they worry that he's all alone. So they were like, we wish he was, they'd always be like, I wish he was dating somebody because he's all alone at the house all by himself all weekend.
Oh my God,
I'm
that's
I'm
cute.
sure there's somebody. I'm like,
You're like, there's a rotation, I'm sure.
I'm sure he's fine. But I've heard recently he was dating somebody. So yeah, I'm happy for him if he, whatever his, his little life journey is.
It's really great to see people that, were in the public eye that went through a divorce, that had a really like long marriage, that kind of like fell into doing it the right way. And there wasn't a lot of like turmoil and shit around it.
I don't know what is the right way. I mean, we're calling it the right way. And in 10 years, my kids are going to be sitting in therapy and sitting on a podcast.
We're so fucked up. Yes. Why? Because of the divorce. They did everything wrong.
Everything. They say they're happy. The therapist says they're doing well. So, that's all I can do until they go to therapy and do a podcast in 10 years.
Right.
That's it.
My mom always says, like, we do everything we can for our kids, but they'll inevitably get fucked up somehow, whether it's by you or somebody else. So you just kind of like love them through and support it.
Exactly.
Erin, will you tell everybody where they can find you, what you're up to, what's coming up, all the things?
I am currently head of director of nursing at a Beverly Hills plastic surgery practice for Dr. David Sadat. We work with Allergan and Galderma, so we do all the Botox and fillers. And I am at Erin Ziering on Instagram right now. So
love that.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. And I'm going to go learn how to fight fairly.
Fight fairly, yeah. And fuck that therapy.
Right. I've got podcasts in 10 years and I'm being told off.
I mean, I know. I'm going to find her. And I'm going to send a message and be like, look, bitch, like this ain't it.
Oh, yes. That one too.
I want to thank Erin so much for joining me today to dish on her divorce and finding love after and what that has looked like in a healthy, amazing way. All right, you guys, thank you for joining me for yet another week. Remember to catch us on YouTube if you want to watch us live in studio at youtube.com/FML Talk. And you can keep up with us on Instagram at FML Talk Podcast. As always, have a self-love cocktail on me. Cheers.